The gasoline you put into your car exists because a series of events didn't go wrong. Which sounds simple, until you realize that almost everything about this process usually does. Most organic matter never becomes oil. Most oil never gets trapped. Most trapped oil is never found. And yet, enough of it makes it all the way through that chain to power the modern world. Which raises a strange question. Why does the system work at all? Start far earlier than most people think. Long before humans, before dinosaurs, a warm, shallow ocean covers parts of what will eventually become the Middle East, West Texas, the Gulf of Mexico. And in that ocean, microscopic organisms are living brief, unremarkable lives, absorbing sunlight, drifting, multiplying, dying. Under normal conditions, that would be the end of it. They die, they decompose, they disappear, recycled back into the system, and that's what happens. Almost every time. But in certain places, under very specific conditions, that process gets interrupted. There's little to no oxygen. Nothing breaks the material down completely. So instead of disappearing, it accumulates. Layer after layer, over millions of years, buried under sediment, compressed, and slowly pushed deeper into the earth. And this is where the process becomes extremely narrow. Because for this to continue, everything has to stay within a specific range. Pressure increasing, temperature rising, but not too much, not too fast. If it overheats, it's destroyed. If it stays too cool, nothing happens. But if it stays in that window long enough, it transforms. Not suddenly, but gradually, predictably, into hydrocarbons, into oil, which means the fuel you use every day only exists because a chain of events stayed intact for millions of years, when most of the time, it doesn't. But forming oil is only part of the problem. Because once it exists, it starts trying to escape. Oil doesn't stay where it forms. It begins to move, slowly, almost imperceptibly, migrating through microscopic spaces in rock, driven by pressure always trending upward. And most of the time, that's exactly what happens. It escapes, leaks out, disperses, lost long before anyone ever sees it. Which means, by the time we find oil, we're already looking at what's left over. But sometimes, rarely, it encounters something it can't pass through. A dense, impermeable layer of rock. And when that happens, everything changes. The oil gets trapped, not in a pool, but inside the rock itself, filling tiny pores, saturating the formation like a sponge, held in place under pressure, often miles below the surface. Which means every time you fill your tank, you're using something that spent millions of years trying to escape and failed. And reaching it is where the system becomes less about geology and more about risk. Finding oil is one thing. Getting to it is something else entirely, because by the time it's trapped, it's often buried thousands of feet underground, sometimes beneath miles of ocean. Reaching it requires drilling through layers of rock with precision, using equipment that operates under extreme pressure and temperature. And none of it is guaranteed. Companies routinely spend hundreds of millions of dollars drilling a single well, and walk away with nothing. No oil, no return. Just cost. This isn't a stable system. It's a series of high-stakes decisions where uncertainty is built in. And even when everything goes right, when a well connects to a reservoir, the system still isn't fully under control. At first, the oil may flow on its own, driven by pressure that's been building for millions of years. But that pressure doesn't last, and once it drops, maintaining flow becomes more complex, more engineered, and more dependent on continuous management. And nowhere is that more visible than offshore. Out in deep water, the margin for error disappears. You're operating miles from land, in an environment defined by pressure, isolation, and limited access. Below the surface, conditions are hostile. Above it, everything depends on systems that have to work continuously. Because when something fails at that scale, it doesn't fail quietly. The consequences extend outward into coastlines, ecosystems, economies. Events like the Deepwater Horizon oil spill made that clear. A loss of control, deep below the ocean surface, escalated into one of the largest environmental disasters in history. Since then, the industry has built layers of safeguards designed to prevent that from happening again. But the underlying reality hasn't changed. The system still depends on maintaining control in environments where control is never guaranteed. And after all of that, after millions of years, after rare conditions, after extreme cost and risk, what comes out of the ground still isn't usable. What's extracted isn't gasoline, it's crude oil, a complex mixture of hydrocarbons, varying in composition depending on where and how it formed. Some are lighter, some heavier, some easier to process, some significantly more difficult. And that difference matters, because the global system isn't built around oil as a single thing. It's built around matching specific types of crude to specific refining systems, which is why a country can produce large amounts of oil and still import it at the same time, because not all oil fits into the same process. And even now, after everything it took to get here, it still can't power your car. Not yet. The system that powers everyday life isn't built on certainty. It's built on a chain of events that almost always breaks. Formation, migration, discovery, extraction. And yet somehow, enough of it works to keep everything moving, which makes the energy you rely on every day far less guaranteed than it feels. But here's the part almost nobody thinks about, even after all of that. After millions of years, extreme conditions, and enormous cost, the oil that comes out of the ground is still useless. It can't power your car. It can't run an engine. On its own, it has almost no value. So, how does something that starts out essentially unusable turn into one of the most profitable industries on the planet? Where does that value actually get created? And who controls it? This is Crude reality, and now you don't just use it, you understand it.